Testing. 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 Hey, Marva. How are you? Hey. Testing. Testing. Cool. Steve, appreciate it. Okay, it's 2:30. We'll go ahead and get started. Welcome to From Classroom to Clinic, Unbound in Time and Space. The explorer, Ferdinand Magellan, once said, "The sea is dangerous and its storms terrible, but the obstacles have never been sufficient reason to remain ashore. Unlike the mediocre, intrepid spirits seek victory over those things that seem impossible. It is with an iron will that they embark on the most daring of all endeavors, to meet the shadowy future without fear and conquer the unknown." As Director of IT, Information Technology and Facility Management at NCCU, I view my role in this vein. It is the role of me and my team and I, to explore new opportunities in technology for our community in order to make our operation run more smoothly, efficiently, and competitively. Our session today will talk about some of the innovations we have at NCCU. We'll have two of my colleagues, Jim Beckwith, who's a professor at NCCU, to talk about the classroom that we've developed and teaching in that classroom space. And then we'll have Pam Glean, who's the assistant dean for clinical programs, to talk about the clinics and their use of technology. I'll talk about 5 minutes about our environment, what's new, what we've done, how we got to this point, and then I'll turn it over to Jim and then to Pam. Also in the audience, I have some of my colleagues from school, Pam Newell, who teaches in our virtual classroom. She's to my left. And I have Stars Best, who's walking in, as well as one of our former colleagues who works here at Marquette, Mava, in the back, Calvin. So glad to have you. Our environment. NCCU School of Law over the last 12 years has invested heavily in technology. This is our current environment. I won't talk about our previous environment, but our current environment, we have 7 types of rooms. The first room that you'll see here on your left is a standard traditional room. It's the this room here. Where's my pointer? This is room 100. In that room is seats 126. All of our rooms are high-tech video conferencing rooms, teleconferencing, cable, microphones, reinforcement sound at both the presenter level as well as on the students level. We also have, in this type room, we have the smart overlay to the right, where the professor writes on the smart overlay board and it's projected to the large screens. We recently turned those rooms into HD rooms with HD projections in those rooms. We also have ceiling-mounted digital cameras in those rooms that have auto adjust to them. The room that you'll see Jim teaching from on the right is our second type room. Those rooms have some podiums on the lectern. However, all of the other type technology and presentation tools are available in that room. The room at the bottom, where you see that one student studying here, that's a seminar room. In that room, we have a rear end projection, smartboard projection screen where you write on the screen and the images are projected there. All of our rooms are connected to the internet as well as have a computer in them. Again, as I mentioned, all our rooms have video conferencing capabilities and teleconferencing capabilities. 5 weeks before finals, we open our operation 24 hours a day. And during those 24 hours a day operation periods, we've noticed that students were using the classrooms to study in. So we decided, because we built our current building based on a population of 420. We currently have about 620. So we decided that we will try to give more space to students. So we took Carol space out of the library and built group study rooms. And this is an example of the group study room here. In this room, you'll see a plasma on the table. But what's cool about this room is that there's a computer in that room, but you're also built into the table are 5 VGA cables that connects to laptops, so students can share the content that they're working on with their classmates. This summer, we put in HD cameras in those rooms to create a video conferencing room as well. The room that we launched last summer, which is our 5th type room, is our virtual classroom. Now, virtual classroom is really cool because what happens in the virtual classroom, all the students come to this space. This is just a teaching space where the professor has 2 plasma screens on the wall. We bring the students through a Polycom CMA desktop video conferencing client, and each student uses their laptop, webcam, and broadband connection and take the course. The professor sees all 32 students. The students see the professor and whoever is speaking, and up to 16 of their classmates at a time. And that's really cool. You push content to the students through the CMA client, so it goes directly to their laptop. So you're doing a PowerPoint, document cam, or any smart, because we have a symposium in that room as well, anything you write on symposium is pushed to the client, pushed to the student. Now, my latest creation happened this January. In October of, in October of 2010, we received a $2 million grant from National Telecommunication Information Administration to expand our legal clinic to 4 HBCUs and 22 legal aid offices across the state of North Carolina. What we're doing with that is we're equipping each of the HBCU with smaller rooms, and I'll go to that slide in a moment, and each of the legal aid offices with a portable video conferencing system. So we are able to expand our clinical offerings to, as John was talking about early in the previous session, to some of that unmet demand in the legal aid market of people that are turning away because they don't have enough resources to service these people. We also are teaching 2 undergraduate courses to the HBCUs, one an introductory to law school, as well as a legal writing course. In this telepresence room, we have the capacity to have 18 people locally, and on the screens you'll see at the top, here there are 4 panel screens. We bring each one of those schools in the room, so they're, with that room, that telepresence room, is HD video conferencing that gives you the illusion because of furniture, sight, sound, and their interaction that you're in the same room. It's real, it looks like you're in the same room, and that's really cool. In addition to that, you're able to bring students in on their laptops, 16 people at a time to each panel. So you have a total capacity of 64 people in a virtual classroom, which is cool. And this is what we have at the HBCUs. We built smaller rooms, and at these rooms, that's a custom designed room. There's still HD video conferencing, where the professors at those institutions can push content. They can teach a course there, or they can receive content. Or, in the case of the clinic, a client can go to either one of these locations and talk to an attorney directly from Durham. What makes this easy for us? What makes my job easy is faculty usage of technology. In order for technology to work seamlessly and smoothly, you have to have the faculty buy-in. Since 1999, you can see our stacks as from a visual how our faculty use of technology has grown. This is more detailed information about how that translates. In May of 2011, out of 38 full-time faculty, 79% of them had laptops or desktops. 97% of them, laptops or tablets, laptops or tablets. 97% of them used the technology in the classroom. 100% of them use Twin. 66% of them use ExamSoft. And the next percentage, the 100%, is first-year professors who teach first-year courses. 100% of those professors use ExamSoft. PowerPoint is at 82%. Clickers, we're taking a beating on clickers. That's never done well in our environment. So as you can see, it started out at a small percentage, actually almost 0%, then went to 21%, and it's not going. I think next year is going to go down. And capturing, our capturing solution, we start that out with small percentages, but now we're up to 92%. We started our distance education initiative last year, and we're up to 11% of our professors using distance education. A few years ago, and I'll move into a presentation with Jim and everyone else. A few years ago, some middle schools came to the law school to see how we operate and saw the technology we had in place. Little kids said, let me get this right. It's your job to play with all these cool toys. And I said, yeah. He said, man, you got a cool job. We do have a cool job, but what's really interesting to me is that at the end of the day, it's like what Walt Disney always say. It's fun to do that which is impossible, or what is perceived to be impossible. I'll turn it over to Jim now. Yeah.
Is this working? Oh, good. And okay, and then we'll be able to just scoot over to Panopto when I want it.
Yes.
Right there. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Cool.
I'm going to leave that up as a visual aid because it shows you me in what I call the Starship Enterprise. This is Classroom 202. It's just the greatest place in the world to teach. I teach big classes. I teach contracts. I teach the Uniform Commercial Code. My sort of small class is negotiable instruments for obvious reasons. It's not a big draw, but sales, secured transactions, contracts, I've got big numbers. And I want to talk to you about effective teaching in a smart classroom. And everything I have to say is derived from the paper. It's about 20 pages, very straightforward description of do's and don'ts, mistakes, things I've learned. It's a PDF file posted on the session for today on the CALI website. Please feel free to download it. Don't feel like you have to take notes because basically everything I say is coming from this or ad-libbing. The title of this year's conference is on being unbound. Well, in the paper I mentioned unbound from what? Well, I think in terms as a law teacher of two things, time and space. How is it that technology frees us from constraints, and what comes from it? Well, in terms of being unbound in time and what we call asynchronous learning, can we go to the, let's see, I want to show you, it raises the question of classroom capture. And what we have done is, oops, that's not exactly what I was expecting. I got Windows Media Player. Do you want to close that out? What? Go where? Where? Here? Oh, there I am. Okay. I'm using as an example a class from February 21st. This is a personal paper class. This is the archive. Classroom capture, asynchronous learning. We meet students in a physical space at a particular time. And I have become persuaded on the basis of experience that there's more to be gained from classroom capture than could be lost. And some faculty are resistant to the idea. But the point is, if the students learn, shouldn't we encourage whatever method they learn by? And I have had numerous students tell me how much it means to them to be able to review the class a second time, or maybe a third. If it's something I do commercial law stuff, it's difficult statutory material. And a lot of students come to law school without any business background. So I think there's so much to be gained by it, and we use Panopto. Now, one of the wonderful things about teaching in a smart classroom, if you have something like Panopto going on, is it can affect your response to student questions. For example, if you're doing something real complex and complicated, and you've explained it thoroughly, most students got it, but a couple didn't, and you get the inevitable, could you repeat that? Well, that's another 15 minutes gone. And so you can gently say, tell you what, look at the clock. It says 2:45. Make a note of that. Tonight, go to your video on Panopto, log in on the web. You can find the very minutes that eluded you. Watch that again, and then email me, and we'll talk about clarifying any questions that you have. The use of capture, especially if you have what I appreciate is a split-screen archive that is searchable by date, by the minute. You'll notice we have the dates of the classes, and I'm looking at the class on February 21st in commercial paper. We're going to go to that class, and you'll notice there we are starting. That's my golden words. And notice what you've got. You've got the video of what happened. You have the minutes of the class searchable, and you have the associated screens with the statutory overlay. This is what's been going on in class. I teach statutory material. So the wonderful thing is you get a Word file of the statute. And let me stop him from talking. You have your statutory overlay so that, for example, you're teaching a holder in due course, 3305 of Article 3. And a student says, I left my coat in the locker. And you can say, Mr. Smith, answer my question because there's the statute. It's right in front of them. So they have this immediacy of, I've become to believe, students learn visually. Some learn by hearing. And the wireless, you've got visual and auditory enhancements. When you've got the projection of the statute on the screen, you've got the visual enhancement, and then it's in the context of the wireless microphone. So you no longer have what I had in law school so long ago, the back row boys who are tuned out because they can't hear anything, they can't see anything, and they're so far away they figured the professor wouldn't recognize them. That's what happens in big classes. You don't want to lose the back row. And you use sound and sight to bring them in and give you this wonderful ability to control a large space. Now, and this is what the student takes home. they've been to class, and if they're confused about 3305 of Article 3, they can watch what was discussed. Now let's assume that the student had a question about something specific. And notice what you can do. Oh, I think it was about 10 minutes into the class. What were we talking about? We go, you want to let them in? Well, thanks. So here you've got the discussion, but notice what you can also pick up. I'm hoping that it will. I want the visual to move forward because you'll notice at the bottom what you should be seeing on the screen, and it's not moving congruently. They're the markups. As you talk about the statute, you can use an electronic stylus. Which is the intuitive way of marking up the text. So as you discuss the statutory language, then you circle words, you underline, you do all kinds of things like that, visual cues, as the discussion progresses. And the students see that when they go back to the archive and do the search. They know what day of the class, then they can move the marker and find the particular words. Notice here we move to the question of corporate incapacity as a real defense under Article 3. Ultra vires and doctrine and decline. Corporate incapacity, the expiration of charters. So, again, you've got the parallelism between sound and sight. Searchable down to the minute, which allows you to say to the student, make a note of exactly what it was that you wanted to clarify, go back, and we'll work it out. Now, sound quality in the context of classroom capture, it's important that you have the proper microphone. Now, I think the most important thing about microphones is not so much whether a student's question is audible to the professor, but rather what the professor says is audible to every student. And that's why you want to have a sound system in your smart classroom that brings the whole class into the discussion. So you don't have to say, will everybody please sit in the first 5 rows? I don't want anybody way back there. But then if you've got your microphone system, then it doesn't matter. And of course, the debate about microphones, what you've got here is sort of the lavalier, which is working fine. I'm very fond of the ear set method, which is a wireless system, and you have your little thing on your belt, and it curls around your ear, and it's like, what's Ernestine? What was the comedian, the lady at the phone? And she had Lily Tomlin, and she had a little thing, and I think in front of her mouth. Well, see, that's what I have. It's a little thing, and the nice thing about the ear set method, sometimes with a lavalier and you pin it on your jacket, especially if you're being recorded, if you turn your head, it affects sound quality. Subtle differences. But with the Lily Tomlin mouth ear set, as you turn your head, it's like this. So you get uniformity of sound. There are no problems with your archive. And believe me, if there are problems with the archive, the sound fades, or the slide isn't visible, the students will let you know. Now, Pam's going to talk about professional skills. As you can imagine, having this kind of capture system, it's a wonderful resource for any skills-based course about negotiations or trial practice, etc., because, well, she'll talk about that. A perennial question, and we saw it beautifully teachable moment. These sessions here at CALI, as wonderful as they are, what do you do when something goes wrong? as we saw it happen several times in the sessions I was at today. As a law teacher, it's essential that you be able to instantaneously revert to old school if the system goes down. Do not spend time trying to fix it. If you can't fix it within 15 or 20 seconds, you're going to lose the rhythm of your class. So like some law schools have a telephone for calling IT. Well, if you've got a class that's on a roll about holder and due course and the difference between real defenses and personal defenses and they're into the statute and then, oh, excuse me, can you come work on this problem? What's happened to the rhythm of your class? As a teacher, it's just been ruined. You can't spend time fixing things if you're going to maintain that spontaneity and engagement with the students. So my view is, if it crashes, let it be, and revert to old school. You can teach old school. You assume that they've got their uniform and commercial codes in front of them. And if it's a projection problem that goes, say the projector overheats and just goes dark, we'll do without it for that class. And revert, make that quick judgment, and save the class. Sure. About what? Well, I'm going to say something terrible. I'm going to say something terrible, but I've said it before. I think that the most important opportunity for law teaching and technology, as well as the biggest problem for law teaching and technology, is the faculty. And I'll say a little bit more about that. There's a certain advantage. I mean, I've been at Central now for 34 years, and so I sit on these junior faculty review committees. Well, when they see me doing this, and you drop a broad hint, my vote on your tenure can be affected by what I see going on in the classroom. It's amazing how quickly the junior faculty will get on board. But you can't do that with the senior tenured faculty unless they have this inner moral compass that leads them to think they must do what is right. But that's another story. Anyway, what you've got, as illustrated, we have the screen overlay. You can annotate statutes, the use of sound. To be effective in a smart classroom, practice makes perfect. You've got to get your faculty members to practice. Because if the use of technology in a classroom or in a courtroom is going to be effective and persuade or to teach, it has to be unobtrusive. It has to be seamless. It has to not appear there, so that what you do gets through and they're not preoccupied with, look at all those wires, look at all the gizmos. You don't want to be distracted by the mechanics. You want to teach. You want to persuade a jury. And you do that only if you know how to use the technology effectively to make it a seamless, unobtrusive presentation. And this is such an intractable issue because faculty attitudes enter into whether this is going to happen. And I applaud you, the librarians and the IT professionals. If you've ever encountered faculty arrogance toward your taking a leadership role in how they should teach, I salute you, because you are doing what's right. And persevere. Your students deserve the best. We have, in the context of our technology, what have I got, three minutes left, the use of photographs, video. Some video is really good. I go to YouTube. I've got a wonderful YouTube of a successful self-help repossession. It's very comedic. This guy runs out of his house, throws a beer can up in the air, and the car is driven away. Well, it illustrates that there was no breach of the peace. But it's a funny learning tool. The whole debate about laptops. I allow laptop use, and I figure if you are good enough, if you're a good law teacher, you will be so engaging, they won't want to go to Facebook. I really believe that the people who are threatened by laptops and internet access are the people who are not engaging teachers. And they're confronting the emptiness of what they do, because the best law school teachers could do stand-up comedy. The virtual classroom, I have real doubts about the virtual classroom. I don't want to teach a wall of faces. I'm concerned about the interaction, about and I'm also concerned, and I've seen evidence of the instability of student home wireless systems. Frequency of breakdown is a serious concern, and I don't see myself teaching a wall of students. I will use the bells and whistles in a real live classroom, and I will capture for asynchronous learning. Technology breakdowns, reciprocal partnerships, who takes the lead? This was a theme at CALI previously. I salute the IT professionals and the librarians. You have to take a leadership role. And I know it can be difficult. And I'll say this quite frankly, Greg Clinton has transformed our law school. And he did it with quiet persuasion. What did I say to you about word processing when you took your job?
You said that you're using WordPerfect 5.1 and it's the best program ever written. I know I can make you change.
Well, I have been persuaded. What you need through faculty or your IT staff or your librarians, can you articulate a vision that will animate your law school community? Well, my time is up. The paper is self-explanatory, and I'll end by saying that what you do is so important, and you must never have any doubts as to the rightness of what you attempt to do, no matter what your frustrations in meeting a resistant faculty. By doing what you do, I applaud you and thank you, because you are on the side of the angels.
Okay. How's everybody? I'm Pam Glean. I am the Assistant Dean for Clinical Programs at NCCU School of Law. I just was wondering if there happened to be at least one other clinician in the audience somewhere. Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. So, anyway, we're going to just go ahead and see if I can... let's see, Greg, you might need to give me... Let me get out of Jim's stuff first. I'm one of those... Yeah. Close. Close. There we go. Left top. Okay, thank you. So this is, you just saw a demonstration of why why we have a 97% faculty usage rate at Central, because when we ask for help, our IT department, they don't design these things for women either. They assume that you have lapels or collars, and this is just one of my personal rants here. So I'm going to just figure out how I can make this. All right, so you still have some people like me who have a problem with basic all right, so the title of my presentation today is derived from the online publication, The Wired Campus, which I'm sure you all are familiar with. It's a publication of the Chronicle of Higher Education, and I've found several, as a non-techie, they have several basic articles that help me out a lot. And so if you're having trouble with your faculty, then I would highly recommend that you encourage them to take a look at that publication. As Jim said, the Legal Clinic has found ways to adapt the technology that is primarily designed for classroom courses, and we've adapted it to what we do in clinical and professional skills. So one of the things that we do is we also use Panopto. And I'm going to see if this connection works right here first. And I will show you that, yes, that I teach mediation advocacy about once a year. I do primarily administrative stuff, but the course that I teach is mediation advocacy. And it is a skills course, and the final exam is a mock mediation. It lasts about 2 hours, a little over 2 hours, and have 16 students in my class, so that means that I have 8 mediations, 8 final mediations. We set up the Panopto appointment by reserving some of the rooms that Greg showed you in the demonstration of the different styles of classrooms we have, and send an email to our IT person and say, we need this room recorded between the hours of 1 and 3 o'clock. And it is wonderful because it saves our students so much time and worry about how are we going to capture this. They don't have to worry about it. It's a seamless process. It's done automatically, and if you will, and it seems like it's automatically, and so that's a spin on a commercial. I know how to say the word, just in case you're wondering. And so it helps us out, and it helps me because once I send that email with the appointment, I don't attend those mediations. I don't view them because we can have about 4 of them going on at the same time. And so Panopto can capture different rooms at different times, and they do that. Once the mediation is captured, they keep it private. I can say whether or not it's made public to the class, public to the law school community, or private to the instructor. And right now it's private to me until I look at each one of them. And as I look at each one of them, I can insert comments here. So if you see, let's see, I don't think I have the Connie Randolph, the plaintiff. All right, can you hear that? Let's see, they're not saying anything right now. Okay. So I'm looking at this at home anywhere. I can access this on campus and off campus. And as I look at it, I am able to insert comments. So if you look at this and you see I'll say something like, I like that shirt you're wearing. I'd say something much more substantive than that, but for this demonstration you have it. So, you see how the comment on the performance appears? It relates to the time that I made the comment. So if the student forgets what they had on at 58 seconds into the recording, they can simply go back to that time, and okay. And see, oh yes, I did have on that shirt. So for instance, here, we can also go into 39 minutes and 22 seconds, and you see how the video followed where I highlighted the comment. And so she can say, oh, well, what, Garvey, I said something really complimentary. So she can click on that, and in a few minutes, that segment will come up. So it's very helpful to the student. Yeah. Yes. Oh, yeah, yes, to where it first began it. Uh-huh. And so they'll watch it until they think it's having trouble loading right now. But they can see what the circumstances were that helped them, that encouraged me to make that comment. And so they can do that throughout the whole process. Once I grade it, I do make this video available to those two students, not to the class, but to those two students who were performing. And so they can look at it. So obviously, my comments are tempered just a little bit because I know that they'll be shared at least with their with one other student. I also make some private comments if I need to, but for the most part, it's all right. They are able to accept the criticism that I give them on Panopto as constructive criticism, and they're not too concerned with that. So that is one way that we use the Panopto in the skills courses. We also use it to capture our final trials. Let's see if this will work as well as the other one did. Well, of course not. We've got a blue screen. But what I will show you is that here you will see this is a recording for a final trial, which those finals last about 4 hours. Our trial practice classes are over-enrolled, so we don't have the minimum 10 or the maximum 10 to 12 students. We have more like 16 to 18 to 20 students in our trial practice classes. Our trial practice professors, most of them choose to act not only as the professor in the final trial, who's assessing the performance, but they're also acting as the presiding judge. So they're ruling on objections. So they're multitasking. Because our class is so large, the trials are 2 on 2. 2 students on 2 for prosecution, 2 students for defense. So you've got them trying to assess 4 performances in a live environment, if you would, as well as rule on objections and conduct the trial. So, obviously, Panopto to the rescue here. And they use it, and they go back to, say these students here, and this is what I wanted to illustrate for you here. These students used a PowerPoint in their opening statement and, again, in their closing statement. So there's a log of each PowerPoint. There you go. So you can see the performance that corresponds with the PowerPoint presentation that this student, Ms. Davis, was using to illustrate her opening statement. All right? So you can also jump, what did I say about the day of the murder? And you go there, and the video goes back to that point in time as well. It's great. Then, so the student, the professor, rather, can grade in their own time. They can take their time and assess each of those 4 students in that one first trial very fairly. and they can make the comments. There's another, you can create comments on that page as well. And it does cut down on, as Jim said, the student coming back to you saying, well, why did I make a B on that grade, on that trial, as opposed to the A that they all expect to make. And, and you can say, well, go and look at this, review the trial, review my comments, look at yourself and what you did, because they don't remember the errors they made. And so they are reminded, and that usually keeps them from having to come back to the professor and talk about why they made that grade. They really realize it after they see themselves. It's quite helpful. Next, I want to talk to you about the virtual classroom that Jim does not like, and I completely understand that. But it is located in the clinic, and so I get to talk about it a little bit more. And here's, you see a picture of it. It also serves as one of our conference rooms for our clients, and so it serves a dual purpose. There you see it without any of it being on. And so far we've taught Pam's legal writing course, an insurance law course, a bankruptcy course, and in the clinic we have general externship program, and our students meet with us periodically throughout the semester. Instead of making them, the externs, come into class at the law school, we meet with them virtually. There's our Crestron panel, more views of the screens there. And there you have a view of the student view. So you see, this is not a student. This is a photo that was taken during the unveiling of this room. So this is a staff member, but you see her multitasking and not paying attention. But the important part of this slide is what she sees. So the students do see each other. They can see as many as, how many? 16 on their laptop. So in the classroom, they don't see everybody, but they see 16. The speaker, whichever student has a question, or if the teacher is speaking to them, their image is enlarged while that person is speaking. And so it is, it's very helpful. Content from the symposium can replace part or all of the images that the students see. I talked to my general externship professors, and they taught this class for the first time in this past semester, and they have some lessons learned that they want me to share. One of them is it was important to establish ground rules. Professionalism and internet etiquette have to be discussed during that first classroom meeting, and also placed on their PowerPoint. They also felt that they needed to have a way to contact the student in addition to the virtual class that they're participating in. So if they needed to send them a text and ask them to cut down the volume of their radio or something like that, they could do that discreetly. Where you choose to call from is important. The convenience of virtual classroom is that you don't have to be at the law school, but you do need to be somewhere appropriate. So we've had Starbucks, we've had home, law school, and last semester we did have one student who was at home and called in from her bedroom, and the pot was lying down rather than sitting up, just inappropriate. And so we have to remind them of the proper etiquette over and over again. When you choose to log in is important too. We recommend right now, I think Pam said in her class, she says 15 minutes early. I would say probably 30 minutes early. They are told when they register for these distance learning classes what their requirements are. So you need to be somewhere where you have access to a certain bandwidth. Help me out if I mistake that. So they should know in advance that if they don't have the adequate technology at home, then you can't take this class from home. So they can go to another area of the law school where we do have the appropriate bandwidth, if possible, and take this class. Usually their offices, if they're externs, their law offices, have the appropriate bandwidth as well. It's quality sight and sound. So if you're popping popcorn, we can hear that. If you're chewing gum, we can hear that. If your baby is crying, if you're texting, if you're typing, we can hear that. And so you have to be very cognizant of that. Use the mute button. There's a mute button on both ends. And so we have to remind them that muting is available. So there is a learning curve for this. But it's short, Jim. I swear. It's short. It's intuitive. You too can do this. Well, that's why I would recommend more than a 15-minute logging in, especially for that first class. You've got to test that system. And so I would say 30 minutes before the class. 5 o'clock class, you can't wait until 5 minutes to 5 to log in for a virtual class. You have to get in there at 5:15 and start logging in. If you have trouble, you have time to contact IT so that they can help you. Get in there, and you are on time for class by 5 o'clock. Yeah, Pam.
Not only that, before the class starts, they know that the students need to practice logging in from where they're actually going to take the class.
Okay.
At the same time of day, because if you go, say, you go to Starbucks, or you go somewhere that has free Wi-Fi, they need to be wired in order to have the right bandwidth.
Right.
A 2-hour class.
Did you hear what her comment was? Everybody heard her? Perfect. Okay, yeah. So a practice run is good.
And it's on the syllabus. So
Yeah, that's right.
Exactly what they need to have. And teaching aid, especially for our students who have internships and
Mhm.
from 6 to 8. So
Do you record your class? Yeah. Do you record your class?
no, not the synchronous.
Okay.
I do the
Could
design
she?
in conjunction with Nata.
Mhm.
But no, if I record them, I don't think I would have as much participation.
Mhm.
They raise their hands when they have a question and everything. I call.
Right. Okay. So those are our lessons learned. The most interesting lesson that was learned by my general externship professor was that this type of class actually encouraged our more introverted students to speak their mind. They felt that there was sort of a barrier, a virtual barrier, if you will, between them and their classmates. So they didn't really see people snickering, as much as they would have experienced in the same classroom that way. And so they saw for themselves how the quiet students sort of came out and were more vocal in class over the course of the semester. So that's very important. And most of the time, the students like the convenience of the synchronous learning environment, especially when it works well. The last topic I would like to speak to you about is our Talius program, and this is sort of piggybacking on the previous seminar that John Mayer spoke of. How many of you were in that one that was in this room before? All right, so our legal clinic has a 30-year relationship with Legal Aid of North Carolina. We take their overflow. And we also take overflow from the public defender's offices in our area. But yet, he's right. We still only reach about 20% of those people who are eligible for services. In addition to the software that John spoke about, we have created several pro se support legal information workshops that we conduct live in the area. So we have a file it yourself custody clinic, for instance, where we talk to the participants about what it is they can expect, and we go over each form with them, and when necessary, help them fill out the form. So we are trying to provide support for this growing pro se litigant population. It's just explosive. And judges get frustrated, clerks get frustrated because these people are coming in trying to represent themselves, have no information about and no idea about how to do it. They need something done. And so community education in different areas of the law is really an important service that we can provide. So the way we have decided to do it is through the Talius project that Greg talked to you about. Our portion of that grant application that we received was to partner with legal aid to provide a more efficient, effective delivery of free legal information to unserved citizens of North Carolina. These are the programs that we have at NCCU's Law Clinic. We have mediation, civil litigation, criminal defense, domestic violence, family law, juvenile law, low-income taxpayer clinic, thanks to a grant from the Internal Revenue Service, which I think is just a little ironic, but we got it. Because they pay us to represent people who have controversies with the IRS. Small Business and Community Development Clinic, and Veterans Law, and we also have 3 externship programs. Most of our in-house programs have ideas about how to utilize this room, the telepresence room that Greg showed you. I am looking for a screenshot that will help you see, okay, so you can see my arrow, how many people we can reach in these community education programs and the pro se support programs that I told you we conduct live now. We can conduct this and statewide by pushing programs to these people at the top who are at our HBCU partner institutions. These people right here are at various legal aid offices across the state. This is a classroom in our law building, and I think this is another classroom in our law building, but ideally this screen could be laptop users who have logged into the system by way of a CMA client, which is the software that they download to participate in whatever program we have. And so we are using this so that we don't duplicate the efforts of legal aid, that we join in together, and if there's an expert in the legal aid office in Silva, North Carolina, that knows about landlord and tenant issues, then they can conduct a statewide workshop from Silva, North Carolina, and reach people on the other end of the state and everywhere in between where we have access to this technology. And the beauty of our partnership with the other colleges is that they have agreed to allow the general public access to these rooms, so that if legal aid is not available in that city, if they're overflowing with space issues, then our community members can also go to these sites and they will open it and provide access to the information as well. This is, Greg told you what we provided to legal aid. Here's an illustration of the portable system they have. It's so they can move it from one space to another. Legal aid is also going to use it to conduct their meetings, their statewide meetings, so that their people do not have to travel as much, and so there's a cost-saving measure for them as well. And last but not least, it always helps when the chancellor likes what you're doing, and that's a bit. So I have included a picture of the chancellor. He has been very supportive, as has our dean and everybody else, because they're really, it's all not only, this technology is not only good for the efficient delivery of legal services, but it is also good for the efficient delivery of educational programs. And so, you know, if you've got a great chemistry class here at Marquette, then ideally a student could partner, could take the class with this type of technology and back and forth. I like the telepresence idea for legal services, though, because even if you're just providing information and not advice, and you don't have a lawyer-client relationship, you're just conducting these seminars, there's an element of trust that is required for lawyers to have. The public should have confidence in what they're hearing, who's delivering that message, and how they're delivering that message. This telepresence room and the other sites provide such clear picture and sound. Sight and sound is just dynamic. And so you